we're working through our plan now. We're trying to improve the deadlift position. We just took a crack at mobilizing a muscle. What's the next piece on the list? Let's go for joint. So here's what I want to do. I want you guys to stand up for me. Oh wait, hold on. Didn't we just mobilize the hamstring? And wasn't I talking about using a band every chance I could? It's on your back, Jeff. Other back. I'm not giving you a massage. Not that, San Francisco. Bench your feet up. Hip crease goes in right here, okay? Now, as he brings this knee to chest, if he just anchors this down, do you see how this band is going to create distraction, encourage the motion of the hip to improve over? So basically, I'm adding a vector away, I'm pulling away from the direction where he's moving his leg. It's basically going in the opposite direction. So I'm doing this because this is a trust tree. Can you imagine why this is about trust right now? I feel so wheezy, I'm going to pass out. Now, go ahead and apply that mobilization. Does that feel different than it did before? Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's a force multiplier. And what's happening now is, look, his capsule is thick and powerful. If I don't put some kind of vector or encourage a different motion or a hinge going on there, I'm probably not going to capture that capsular piece. And this makes that much less effective for him. This really changes the game. And then you're going to see better outcomes. And then, you know, it's more fun to do and you get more done quickly, et cetera, et cetera. So always be using a band whenever you can. Does that make sense? Great. I'm releasing. It's cool, bro. Okay. Now, stand up for me real quick. Let's see if we can get you guys to understand some of this hip mechanic passive accessory motion we're talking about. So you just mobilize with musculature one of your legs. Stand on that leg for me. And pick your other knee to your chest. Hopefully it's not a jean end feel. That's what we call it, pant end feel. So without breaking, rib cage is in and down, without bending your knee, just see how far you can pull that hip up. And most of us go about 90 degrees, right? What's happening at the end range there is that you are seeing kind of the approximation of the running in of your femur into your pelvis. Does that make sense? Good. So come on down. Let's get on that same leg that you just pulled to your chest. So it's the opposite leg that we just mobilized. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to concentrate on getting my femur to come out the back of my butt. And that's approximation of those joint surfaces. I'm trying to bring those joint surfaces together by getting all my weight to go through that femur. Does that make sense to you guys? And now you understand what we're doing. So when Dave Tate tells me to take the bar off the rack and count for 2 seconds, what's really happening in the joint? It's approximating. I'm closing those surfaces and getting into a tighter position. I'm encouraging the capsule to mobilize into a good position. Does that make sense? So in this position with this joint, I'm doing the same thing except the pelvis is moving past the stable femur. So hang out here for a second. Now, go ahead and just keeping your pelvis level, I just want you to shove your hip to the side. If you feel like you're going to dislocate, what's going to happen? Yeah, that's right. Be cool. So, but do you start to see how your butt starts to wind up as you shove your hip over to the side? You feel that? Now go ahead and try contract, relax there. Always be thinking, is this muscular? Contract, relax. Did anything change much? You know why it didn't change much? It's a joint capsule. So what I'm going to do is just oscillate in and out, kind of touch back and forth, touch that resistance, come out. I'm going to move around till I find my position of restriction or my band of restriction. And it may be high, so I'll let my knee come out of extension a little bit or out of flexion. The knee goes away from my chest, I push over. I can push that knee deep into flexion and push over a little bit. Do you feel that too? Yeah? Always thinking about keeping my line of force going through my femur, driving that femur into the back of the socket. Can you guys feel that and appreciate what we're doing? Now, is the joint in a closed pack position or stable position here? What's the stable position in flexion? External rotation. So what should I do with my hip right here? Externally rotate my hip. So now my hip is in external rotation by sweeping it across the body. Now push over to the side and tell me if that doesn't feel tighter. Hey! And that's what, now you're understanding why that joint winds up a little bit differently, yeah? Now push yourself into a little bit more flexion. Don't collapse down into some like pigeon pose. Keep your weight always going through line of force through the femur. You got it? That force vector is really important to therapists passing all their boards. Okay? So now we've done that for 2 minutes. And what we've done, stand up for me, dismount. Try not to fall over. Go ahead and stand on the leg you did not mobilize just then and pick up your other knee to your chest again. Anyone improve their range of motion significantly? Absolutely. I only improved mine by about 30 degrees. Can you give me a mechanism for improving my hip impingement? Hey, I just did. By getting that joint to drop to the back of the socket. And here's a little cue to improve flexion. We mobilize to the back of the socket. I'm giving you an idea about how to fix overhead positioning. To improve flexion, what could I do? Mobilize to the back of the socket. And what's happened here is that you've just changed that roll, slide, and glide in the hip. And now I've improved my range. I'm not impinging. I didn't take my head of my beautiful femur and blossom it into an ugly mushroom, and then to a pickaxe, and then to a shiny, brand new, orthotic. So what we're saying is, treat your labrum and your hips accordingly, and this is an easy way to do that. Could I have zhuzhed that up with a band somehow? Yeah. Absolutely. Did anyone feel pinchy when they did that? Yes. Yeah, you felt pinchy. Come here. So if he feels pinchy, what do you think is going on in the joint? It's being impingement. Does that sound? So do that same hip you just did.
Oh, okay.
So wrap that around there. But I'm going to have that pulling you sideways and out.
Okay.
There you go. So same position, but just get some tension on there. Now drop on that knee. What's the matter? Need a smaller band? So now, he's an extra rotation. We've created a distraction force at the hip, which is just pulling him out and giving him some joint space because that sac can just get stiff. Does that feel different than before?
I don't feel the impingement anymore.
So, you know, I said, did that not feel better? I said, does that feel different, right? So I try not to use a leading question. Isn't that more awesome now? Yes, totally more awesome, Kelly. I don't want to disappoint you in front of everyone. Yeah, and what's happened is he's unimpinged himself using a little bit of distraction. If we have athletes who have really tight, painful hips, or have wives who have really tight, painful hips, my professional cyclist lady in here we're talking about, this is a really good technique to create some space in the joint to unload that joint. The same way we can do that with distraction of the hip. So anytime we can, an osteopathic tradition is to distract or create space and just lengthen that joint space up and unimpinge, decompress that joint. Does that make sense to you guys? Good. Yeah, well, it's less of a problem. Okay. Yeah, he's getting pulled over, forcing on the hip. The main thing is he overextended and really trashing spinal mechanics now?
The main point is distraction, flexion, and external rotation.
Well, I get some working in a pain-free position, and then so I'm not having horrific pain, but can I distract to disengage that impingement, which is a new word, TM. I just trademarked that. Bam, you can't take that. Did you guys get in your deadlift position? How's that feel? Deadlift position? Does one butt cheek feel 9 inches back than the other butt cheek? It's weird, isn't it? One of your legs is practically straight, huh? What's happened there is you've also improved your mechanical advantage. You've improved the length-tension relationship of your hamstring. You've improved your leverage. So if Dave Tate's yelling at you or to lean back behind the bar, get your weight back, I sort of don't have to because my butt is already 6 inches back behind me. And that's an important idea because now I've not only going to disimpinge myself, disimpingement, I don't think that's even possible, but also you've improved your mechanical efficiency. And these are the kinds of things we have our powerlifters do before they pull.
Does your baseline improve then eventually, or do you always have to go?
Good question. Does this change over time? Absolutely. Do you guys know the 23:59 rule? I stretched for one minute. I don't understand why nothing changed. Well, because for 23 hours and 59 minutes, you did nothing else. And your body was like, well, what's the default? So, you have to worry these tissues. We make change. And then one of the reasons this is very effective is that we reinforce this new range with movement. We immediately go train. And so your body is like, I've got to be responsible for this. I've got to deadlift. This is one of the reasons this whole package works. CrossFit, strength and conditioning, and mobilization together because I'm reinforcing new ranges and new positions and strengthening new ranges and new positions. Question?
I've been following this on the Mobility Watch for the last 2-3 months, and I found that
automatically, when I start to go back for a squat or a deadlift, hips automatically go back now, instead of having to force my thighs to push it back. So you get more mobility in my joints because my hips are too tight.
Yeah. Did it help your numbers?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How much?
It's just so high.
There we go. Yeah, and that's the thing that should matter the most.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey guys, let's grab a lacrosse ball for me, would you? Pass them around.